Ladies and gentlemen, are we ready? We are ready.
In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit.
Amen.
Heavenly Father, you have proclaimed the true font of light and wisdom and the primal origin raised high beyond all things. Pour forth a ray of your brightness into the darkened places of our minds. Disperse from our souls the twofold darknesses into which we were born, sin and ignorance. You make eloquent the tongue of infants. Refine our speech and pour forth upon our lips the goodness of your blessing. Grant to us keenness of mind, capacity to remember, skill in learning, subtlety to interpret, and elegance in speech. May you guide the beginning of our work, direct its progress, and bring it to completion. You who are true God and true man, who live and reign, world without end. Amen.
Good morning, friends. So we were talking about mostly, about the persecutions last time, about especially the Nero's persecution, how Nero started the persecution, what was his motive behind, and how some of the writers of the early time, that is in the 1st century itself, recorded that. I have told you Tacitus already recorded, Suetonius recorded about the Nero's persecution and his intentions, to clear up the city of Rome and then, make it beautiful, and how the Christians were blamed. And again, why the Christians were blamed? Because, already we have seen some of the reasons, because they did not, or they formed themselves a separate group and did not integrate clearly with the time or the idea or understanding of the time. And not only that, they were claiming the true religion and did not accept the other religion. And of all these things, the most powerful one was the emperor cult, which was also joined with the nationalism. When they did not comply with the emperor cult, that means they were branded as anti-nationals. Another thing was they refused to do military service, and of course that really made them in trouble because they were considered to be unproductive, lazy, and anti-national and things like that. So it was very easy for Nero to blame them, and the public accepted it.
There you go.
And there was no outcry for Christians.
They didn't really care.
Yeah. And as I told you, Suetonius, when writing, he gives these things. He says, it wasn't the Christians who really did that. It was Nero himself. And he says, but Christians deserve that persecution, because these stupid fellows, because they just throw their lives for a cause of a man who was crucified without meaning, and suspicious people, This is important for us to know, when we learn a little bit of history, this is very important even to interpret our own day. Almost like there are at least some, people are making false propaganda, False propaganda. See, for example, in our media, of course, controlled by, I don't think, a Catholic influence. The media is mostly controlled by what's called the
Elite.
The core elite or ultra modern or liberals, no? In all the views, I don't know whether it is really progressive or
That's the name they
they give, no? For example, when they speak about, pro-choice, no? About, for example, when we speak about abortion things, no? And they call it progressive. Really, are they progressive?
progressing in the wrong direction.
No? Then, see.
The biggest argument that I hear that women, not women, but some of them, they say that
The liberals.
they have a right to do what their body has a right to do, and that's the thinking that they have, is that child is like a possession of theirs, that they can do whatever they want to.
Oh yeah.
And I've heard even our own Catholics say, how do I have a right to tell them what to do with their body? And that's not the way to look at it, but that's what we have to deal with. How do you answer that, Father? That that they say that what they do with their bodies is their business.
But it's not a part of their body. Really? He has an answer.
Can I make a comment on that? If you take life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, the founding fathers were very clear on that those were unalienable rights coming from God. And they come in that order. God gives you life. He gives you liberty to move around. You have a body, you can move around. And you have the pursuit of happiness, which is your self-preservation. They come in that order. When a woman becomes pregnant, her right to liberty does not trump the right to life that baby has.
So the question is, at what point do these individuals consider life beginning?
There you go.
So if you want to get to the crux of the matter, it's when does life begin?
When they meet. And you can kill a living fetus, but if you kill a pregnant woman, you're charged with murder of that fetus. Now figure that out.
Yeah, double murder, no?
It's already started. When it's fertilized, it's already started already.
Sure, it is.
That's what I think.
Very clear. The problem is that, why these people, just to be aware, because there is a problem in the, just after conception, that can bring out an argument that is really, not exactly the life, the soul. When really God infuses the soul to a human being. We say that is, because their argument is that, there is a biological problem. For example, when the conception, the fertilization, we say when the fertilization of the egg happens, then God infuses the soul. And that is the beginning of the life, the complete life. But here the one biological problem, there can be, even after the conception, there can be a situation in which that egg, which was already fertilized, could divide itself too and can bring out, what's called the identical twins. And if a woman gets pregnant with two children, that is, mostly they are not identical, identical twins, The twins, because there are two eggs, and these two eggs are, fertilized. There is no problem for that. But if it is identical twins, that means one egg is fertilized, that it divides itself too, and thus we get identical twins. Here, this can happen, not only just, not that happens not immediately, after the conception, but it goes a little further, then divides. Why it happens, we have no answer.
See, God put two souls in there.
Yeah, that's a problem. Once that one egg is fertilized, He should not have two souls. Then when it divides after a period of time, when it divides itself two, then it is two souls. So they say, so this period, so almost like, I think, I don't know whether almost like 3 weeks, something like that, the division, identical twins completes. I'm not so sure about. Anyway, let us take a period of time, almost like, let us take 3 weeks. So they say, these 3 weeks could be considered that without soul. So is possible for an abortion, until the 3 weeks. That's a question, in moral theology they discuss about. Our problem in 99.9% of conceptions are not identical twins. These are very simple exceptions. And do we accept the exception as a general law? No. God provides an exception for that, and He gives whatever it wants. Okay, but that's why we consider. We don't know exactly when God gives the soul, infuses the soul. So the safest position is that when the conception occurs, life begins, the soul is there. We cannot have the right over a fetus. That's a human being. As we cannot take the life of a human being when the outside the womb. What it makes, if it is a fetus and if it is a newborn baby, what is the difference between that? It has no difference. The fetus is helpless. The newborn baby is totally helpless as a fetus also, no?
It's just time.
It's only a time span, that's all. Of course, its organs are a little more developed. That's okay. But that's why, the Catholic Church is so strong against abortion. Cannot. And there is a question whether the Pope can, in some point of time, can allow that. No, because the Pope has no right over a human being.
Right.
The Church has no right. The Church cannot.
Free will, right? You're talking about.
Yeah, the Pope cannot make a law for that, because how can we can make a law against the nature and against the will of God? For example, if Pope can Pope make a law that a priest can marry? Yes. Because it's a church law. It's a church law. And in the beginning of the church, the priests were married. And only in course of time that law was changed, or that practice was changed, a law was made that priests cannot marry. So the church can, again, establish the law that priests can marry. No problem. Or, is woman can be ordained priest? That can be also considered.
Hopefully not.
That's a different question. No, I'm comparing this question with the abortion. You're just understanding. Understand our situation. I'm comparing the situation with abortion. The church can even make a law that the woman can be ordained priest. Why the church is not doing it? Because we have to know why. There is a question people when ask, why the church is not doing that question, that thing. Why? Because the church, we have to go behind truth, what the Catholic Church holds. First of all, the Catholic Church says, that's from the beginning, foundation, that the source of revelation for the Catholic Church, they believe, the church believes there are two sources of the revelation. Which are they? In Bible and in tradition. This is the revelation, sources of revelation. And in both sources of revelation, we have no instance that a woman is, ordained a priest.
Wow.
Yeah. And see, therefore, which is not found in Bible or in tradition. Because the church, for example, some of the sacraments, we don't have a direct reference to the Bible. Direct. So, but we have practice in the tradition, and we accept the tradition as a source of revelation, and we make the practices and things like that. So for the women ordination, we don't have such a tradition in the long history of 2,000 and more years of the church.
Father, will not some of these people, will they not say that when Jesus Christ gave Peter and the apostolic succession, when he told them, what you bind on earth should be bound in heaven, what you loose on earth should be loose in heaven, that he gave them full authority to change the laws any way he wants? I mean, will they not use that argument?
Yeah. We can just ask a question, of course. God created us with freedom, no? Another question, can God go against that?
No.
Because God will not do it, because He respects
His love,
the freedom. For example, He created man with freedom, and He goes against that. Then what we call it, He will not do it. That's why, like that, God gave Peter the full freedom, means the full freedom of establishing or making laws and things like that. It doesn't go against reason. No, never.
But he also holds him and all his successors accountable for
that too. So, but I was speaking, about woman priesthood. Okay, because of this, the church is not doing it. But still, because we don't have a tradition, so the church considers, okay, let us start a tradition now. Okay, the church even can the possibility of a woman ordination, but not abortion. Why? It's very clearly stated in the Bible that you cannot kill. Very clear in Old Testament, New Testament, and everywhere. It's very clear. And how can church go against Bible? And again, in tradition, it is unanimously from the very beginning of the church, most of the church fathers defend the life. And in both ways, the church cannot go against that. And no pope, no council can make a law that the church can allow abortion. Cannot be. That's the thing. Understand, when I compared the law, that doesn't mean, when I said women ordination, even if the church can do that, the woman ordination, but not abortion, because it is against all the sources of revelation.
Father, was it a break with tradition when I think it was the Second Vatican Council said that we would start celebrating Mass in the local vernacular?
Now there was no, for example, just to see, when started, for example, in the beginning, everywhere where the church started, what's called the language or the liturgy was vernacular, and that was a later development. In Rome it was Latin. In Antioch it was Syriac. People were celebrating Mass in Syriac, West Syriac. In Alexandria, people were celebrating Mass in Coptic language. And of course, later, only after Constantinian turning point, that began slowly, spreading the Latin as the liturgical language, and began to spread that. That's all. So there is no unanimous tradition from the beginning until Second Vatican Council that every church celebrated Mass in Latin. No. In the beginning, at least 300 years, the church tradition is that they celebrated Mass in their vernacular. So, Vatican Council what did exactly? Re-established the lost tradition.
Okay, thank you.
On the divorce contract,
Go ahead.
I was going to ask, the divorce also, can they change that? Because I know that hits a lot of us, as
I think in the church, the Bible very clearly says there is no divorce, no?
Yes.
Except in cases of adultery.
Even that is not exactly divorce.
Well, Father, what you
Or not divorce. Only thing is that, in that case only says, the husband can leave the wife, or wife can leave, but then they cannot get married.
Same thing with abuse, physical and mental abuse.
No, the divorce is something different, what's called infidelity. Understand? Infidelity. That means if you have an infidel, wife and things like that, after the marriage, okay, you can leave that person, but not remarriage.
And the reason I ask, Father, is because I know that a lot of us Catholics are, I say us because, I'm not pointing to anybody, but that we're divorced, remarried, and we still take Eucharist.
Here,
And,
here, our what in many cases, sometimes that's not a question I am asking, pointing out. Just before that there is a answer. Many cases when people are getting annulment, people misunderstand it as with the divorce. What do you mean by annulment? There's a difference. For a marriage, a valid marriage, there are certain conditions for a valid marriage. And if one condition is not fulfilled, that marriage is not valid. Understand? And if in that case, if somebody petitions that the church investigates the situation, and if that is proved that marriage was conducted invalidly, celebrated invalidly, okay, then the church proclaims it as invalid, and that is called annulment. That is not divorce. For example, just an example, if a person got married, okay, he had an illegal relationship with somebody else, some other girl, okay, he has, and he what's called he just covered up the problem, and he got married, and he still continues the relationship. Okay, that situation the wife finds out. Okay, then the wife can apply to the church that this man had a relationship with this girl, he continues with that, and it cannot be considered as a valid marriage. That should not be, there are many problems. Please do not, confuse with that. Okay, I had a kind of what's called, a bodily relationship with a certain person, So that could be taken as a, before marriage. Okay, I had a relation with a certain person, and that could be considered always as a ground for annulment. No, I told you, he had a continued relationship with a girl, and he continued it even after the marriage. Then it is a valid ground. Or another thing, very clear, we can say somebody is mentally what's called different, what we call Down syndrome, no? And he did not notice that, at least in the beginning, at least, and got married without knowing that. That person, the other person can immediately ask for annulment. It's not because marriage is considered to be a contract, a covenant. It's a covenant.
Well, the other person thought that the other one was stupidly in love.
So there are so many grounds like that. So the church, that's why the church investigates. There are so many grounds to become a marriage valid. If that marriage is investigated and found out to be not valid, then the church proclaims the marriage invalid, and that is called annulment, not divorce. Okay, but people misunderstands that and say, okay, I got divorced from the church. There is no divorce in the church. That's a problem, of course. Here there are so many questions, I don't know how to answer that. For example, I'm not married, that's why. The whole life becomes a kind of hell with the two persons. Really, got married, two wrong persons. The whole life, and some people are, here, not here, some people are looking at me, my God, Father, you told right. No, here all are happy with that, at least. See, anyway, one thing is, it's the responsibility of the two persons. One is very clear from the very, just after the marriage. Before the marriage, the love between the lovers, it's different when it after marriage, Before the marriage, of course, that it has something emotionally very charged. After the marriage, people, oh, is this the marriage?
Love is blind and marriage is a great eye-opener.
Correct. Love is so blind, but marriage is an eye-opener.
So an allow the person to remarry by church again.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, now, let's say you got divorced but not annulment. I will not never allow you to remarry by church again. But let's say the other person, they are separated or they are divorced just by the manslaughter. One of the two persons died, so the other one become a widow.
Sure.
Under the law of God.
Yeah.
So the other person can remarry.
Sure. The marriage is only until one's death. By death, that marriage is over. Only thing is, then the question is, when we go there, up now in the heaven, the similar question was raised to Jesus. No, not about 1 or 2, 7. One, a widow having 7 brothers, marrying after one after another. No. Yeah. And Jesus said, a very, very tricky answer. He did not directly give an answer for that. He gave, in heaven, we are not get married or divorced, we are like angels.
Nobody belongs to anybody.
Yeah.
I'm reminded of an old movie where a man confided in his friend that he actually had 2 wives, one in New York and one in Los Angeles. Mm-hmm. And his friend was arguing with him. He said, well, it's a matter of morality. He goes, absolutely not. It's geography. What do you mean? And he goes to Globe and says, here we are in New York where it's only legal and moral to have 1 wife. And he spins Globe. But here in Arabia, a man can have 4 wives and be as moral as as anything. So
Yeah.
I ask you, is that morality or geography?
I think, I don't know whether it is, I have heard in these days the Mormons can get married twice or something like that, no? So some people go there, which is that state? Utah, you can go and then get married maybe twice or thrice, I don't know. Is it right?
There's a certain sect that does it.
Yeah. Ah, okay. Okay. If Martha gets a question.
Father Ralph, good morning, Father Ralph. Please excuse my ignorance.
I excused already, okay.
Thank you. Changing the subject a little bit.
Okay.
In the Supreme Court, what do you think, Father? I wish to know and I wish to understand what must be done, what must take place to undo. Is there procedure in the Supreme Court, the bill to be passed, or to undo Roe versus Wade? What has to take place?
I think that question would be answered by somebody else here, no? Because the laws, I'm not so sure familiar with the laws and the traditions and the procedures, things like that. Joe, here is the law.
As long as 5 judges up there say what the law is, that's the law for our country. Yeah. So we have, I think, about 4 or 5 Catholics, right or wrong, we have 4 or 5 Catholics up there, and they're not saying it right yet, but they have to have the right case to overrule Roe versus Wade, which starts in a local court like McGowan and goes to the higher court. For us, it's New Orleans. All those judges say one way, and then it goes up to the big Supreme Court. We just had the abortion ruling this week. A local judge in Austin said parts of the new abortion statute are no good, unconstitutional. Within about 3 days, yesterday afternoon, the Fifth Circuit in New Orleans said no, it was okay, and the docs can't violate our Texas law or they'll be committing a crime. So that could then go up to Washington, and we'd hear something maybe within a year. But that's what happens. As long as 5 of the 9, there's 9. The majority says that's the law, right or wrong.
So let me ask you, Joe, can I ask you, was it meant to be like this at the beginning, the foundation of this country, that 9 men or 9 women or a combination would be the final words? Were they supposed to have that much power that they could overrule what the majority, what the people wanted in the country?
Oh, my God.
Well,
I can give you the long answer.
Huh?
Joe is right about the mechanics of it, but I can give you the long answer. I just read a book called Original Intent by Mr. Barton, talking of the history of the Supreme Court. And what has happened over the years is the Supreme Court has, in a long context, changed its priorities. And what's going to happen, the long answer is there's going to have to be a moral awakening in the country, like we're having here in this classroom, all over the country, that is going to elect moral leaders. Remember, those 9 justices are appointed by the President of the United States, and he's elected directly by the people. And that's where it's going to happen, is a moral awakening in the populace, in the electorate, that elects leaders that demonstrate our morality. We're talking about a moral question here, as more than anything else.
They're also approved by the Congress,
Yeah.
Senate. So the election of senators becomes
Also important, yeah. Understand? Got it? Yeah. Now let's see.
I would just add that the long answer is actually the most effective.
Okay.
Joe, well, if I may ask you, before we move on, if any of y'all want more information about the politics of this, get in contact with Glenn and myself, and we have some very good information, Chuck also, about this, so we can be done with the politics now and go back to
Okay. No, that's all, because these are, our concerns. We are, many times, we are ignorant about what happens really. For example, Martha was asking a real question, no? She did not know how things go. And, this is the way, slowly we become aware. Just like, the long answer we said, It's the way how the change takes place never from above. It takes place below. Starting below and goes up.
Grassroots.
Yeah. From up, it is very seldom.
Called tyranny.
Yeah, very, very seldom. It can happen, with a real, what's called, man of, faith and morality, and but sometimes these people are, these 9, they cannot also do whatever they like. Of course, they are bound by many, many, restrictions, of course.
They're supposed to be.
There are consequences. I saw a sign, it's a bumper sticker yesterday, and it said, "I am Catholic and I vote." So that's where it is. Classes like this that inform us and form our
Conscience.
conscience, and we vote these people in or vote them out.
Yeah, that's the way how we can, at least as an individual, that is the way. The powerful way of reaction, reacting to it, no?
The answer is, how Catholic are we? Like those 4 Catholics, and then
there are, even among the Catholics, there are very liberals, medium liberals, conservative, very ultra conservative. There are people. There are, that we have to understand.
We're men.
Yeah. Because we are all having freedom and things like that. Okay. Now let us come back to we have to finish today this by all means. So Nero, don't think, started, I told you, the persecution started in 64, but ended in 311 by Constantine. At least in the southern in the what's called the northern part, the southern part of, the western part of kingdom, that is Roman side. The east continued little, more. And between 64 to 311, there were so many emperors, of which at least 10 are numbered as persecutors. Just the names. For example, one is Nero, the second one is Domitian. Domitian. The third one is Trajan. The fourth, Trajan. And then fourth one is Hadrian. Then fifth one is the Antonius Pius.
Not very pious, huh?
Then sixth one is Marcus Aurelius. Marcus Aurelius. Then the seventh one is Septimus Severus.
Seven severity.
Yeah. Septimus Severus. Then the next one is Decius. Then ninth one is Valerian. The 10th one is the most famous, Diocletian.
They were not necessarily in continuous order, right?
No. It's very, 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 I told you, it is between 64 to 311. For example, Nero was 64, Nero's life was 54 to 68. He started only at the last years of his life. 64 started persecution. After Nero there were 5 emperors. They did not persecute really. Then comes Domitian in 81, for example. Nero died This is the what's called died, no? 68. The next persecutor emperor, came to power in 81. Domitian came to power in 81. So just say after 68 there were at least almost like 39 years, something like that, no?
13.
13? Yeah, 13 years of gap. Then comes again, for example, Trajan. Domitian died in 96 and Trajan came in 98. Yes, he immediately started. Trajan was a very cruel emperor. He persecuted Christians very cruelly. Hadrian, of course, again immediately after Trajan came Hadrian. Trajan died in 117 and Hadrian started in 117. Yes, immediately. So persecution continued. Yeah. Then Hadrian continued. Then again Antonius Pius, he died in 38. And Antonius Pius started immediately after that. So these three emperors, not only three, again comes Marcus Aurelius. He died in 61. And Marcus Aurelius started 61 and continued 61 to 180, Marcus Aurelius. He was considered to be a philosopher emperor. Then Septimus Severus, of course, after that in 93 he started. 93, there was a gap of 13 years again. And then comes again, he died in 211. Then Decius came to power in 249 to 251. See, big break between. Then Valerian, he immediately started. He became the emperor in 253 and immediately started the persecution. Again, now comes, Valerian died in 50. No, in 260. 260 he died. Now comes Diocletian, a very long gap in 284. 305. So, and interesting, this Diocletian, this man started in 284. Just wanted to, these are the names. The persecution, of course, what we can call, they persecuted in all means, by all means. So they were thrown to wild animals. That's why the Colosseum, is very famous for that. They were thrown to wild animals. They were thrown to fire. They were beheaded. Oh, what all cruelties could be, seen. If you just go to YouTube and just just see Christian persecution, then you can see some of the beautiful YouTube presentations. They are very, very, I have seen, one is so heartbreaking how the lions came in and snatching even the little babies.
Wow. I was wondering about that. They also put families and little...
Yeah, together. Yeah. And even there were women, men, children, everyone. No one spared. No one. You can just go in YouTube and it is very good, to see the Christians' persecution in the early age, and no one spared. Oh, that is heartbreaking, really, to see that. And even some of them, the one of them, the most important thing, there was a law. If you are a Christian, you cannot possess anything. That means a legal denial to existence. If one is a Christian, he is no more a citizen. That, really made them, life so terrible.
Well, I have a question. During all this time, how did the church survive?
Yeah, that's why. Yeah, just a minute.
Well, I mean, confused here. You mentioned just about Christians, but it's not just Christians who were persecuted. The Jews were persecuted as well, because
the Jews were also persecuted, but somewhere or other, the Jews, there was an understanding. If a Jew, they were at least sometime, they were tolerated many times better than Christians. There were even the Jew persecutions, but there were sometimes, of course, they are very small community.
And there was precedent for the Jews.
Yeah,
the Jews.
The Jews in all over the world, in Rome, a small community, and that was not a threat for them, And many times at least, they were tolerated. But Christians, they were thoroughly persecuted.
One of the answers for that is the Roman tradition of allowing the religion of the area that they occupied. Okay? But the Christians had no land of their own. They had no country of their own. So this was basically a treasonous sect that sprung up within Rome. I think that's one way of looking at it, to where, there were other pagan religions that were tolerated because that was the religion of the land that was occupied.
Yeah, we were viewed as a cancer from within.
Yeah.
Then you asked the question, what was that?
Well, how did the church survive?
Yeah, the church survived, that is the church survived mainly in catacombs.
In hiding.
In hiding. Catacombs means, there was underground cemeteries where they came and, just there. Even, for example, there is a beautiful movie, what's called The Gladiator, no? Mm-hmm. You might have seen that, Gladiator. So there is a very beautiful scene to that question. For example, there was a man, a slave, who was serving. And he was serving, and this gladiator man, he made a sign, something like that, kind of a fish. He drew a fish. That was a sign that I'm a Christian. Fish is a symbol of in the water and baptism. So, if another one is a Christian, he made also the similar sign. That means to understand, we are both Christians.
Because during this time, Christianity was still spreading. Despite all these efforts.
Despite all these things,
there were converts in Spain, North Africa.
Oh yes. All in hiding.
Germany, all over the place.
The Germany, all those places, mostly later.
Yeah.
But really, Christianism actually flourished after 311, when this persecution is stopped.
The main spread, the very what's called, a kind of a world thing, that came out after persecution.
I guess my question was there must have been church support for the Christians, for them to survive. So was there a movement of Christians away from the city of Rome or other large cities?
Sure.
To rural areas where they could...
Sure.
Ephesus.
For example, there were many, and Rome was only one among the, and at that time, Rome was not the most important community, no. In the East, there were much larger communities.
Yeah.
The East. And they were also persecuted because they were under Roman Empire. And all these persecutions, one thing we have to understand, all these, even though there are persecutions, the strength or the severity, that depended on the local magistrate, the local generals. Suppose somebody is a very fanatic man, comes and then he persecutes, because there was a law, you can make use of it. Suppose a man comes and he is a tolerant one, he can simply, that's why, for example, during the time of Trajan, there was a man called Pliny the Younger. So he was a general in Bithynia. So he wrote a letter to Trajan. So what about these Christians? What shall I do with them? Because there is a law, but that law was very unclear. Can I persecute the Christians because they are simply Christians? Can I persecute them if suppose a Christian is arrested and if he denies, oh, I'm not a Christian, can I release him? Or another question, for example, if somebody is brought anonymous, somebody is just accused anonymously that he is a Christian, can I proceed with that? So the law was very vague. There was no clear norms for that. And because of that, any general, a magistrate could easily interpret in his own way. And many times that happened.
Wow. They can be used for abuse.
Yeah, sure. And what really, what really happened, most of the time the local people, how they reacted, it was the norm for the generals to act. The local people were so anti-Christian, then the generals were, in order to please them, they became, very severe. Otherwise, many of them were very, 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 what's called, very, very liberal. Otherwise, the Christians would not have survived. And there were many emperors, even they did not even they did not ask for persecution. So there was a law, Christians are, could be persecuted, but they did not implement it. Of these years, 64 to 311, so it's almost like 250 years of persecution, only 10 of them are numbered. And even, for example, Diocletian, he became the emperor in 284, and he started the real persecution only at the last, I think 4 years only.
Father, do you think we can see persecutions come back in the world we live into, like to this country? I know that persecutions are now going on of Christians in the Middle East, Africa,
China, the Philippines.
No, what we know in
and it is happening. It is already happening here in India.
Sure.
In India.
For example, suppose what is really happening, when the persecution comes, the faith, what is witnessed is when there is a persecution, the faith becomes so strong. Anywhere. But what happens if it continues for hundreds of years, then it can extinct. For example, what is going to happen now in Iraq and in Iran and Pakistan, all these places, is going to be extinct.
Wow. But never really extinct, right?
Yeah, could be. For example, what happened in China?
Right.
Survives, no? God has ways to, survival of these things.
God is God.
So, but one thing is clear, whenever there is a persecution, things like that, then people become so strong against that. That doesn't mean, we always wish for persecutions, no, but at least that is the case. So, this is about the emperors, we have to see just about Diocletian next time. This is, 5 or 10 more minutes, okay. This Diocletian is important in the sense he was a very able emperor. Somebody was raising hands for something? No. Yeah, no. Okay. This Diocletian was a very able emperor. This is why I'm taking in the world history and Christianity, some of his interventions are very crucial, even though it was not church regarding church, but in his in his administration. Diocletian was a very, very able emperor, and he became emperor in 284. And one of the law he made the law that if somebody becomes an emperor, he rules for 20 years. And after that, abdicates himself. Nobody does that, no? Usually. But he was a man like that. He made the, implemented the rule. After in 305, he was not killed, he was not deposed by anyone, but he abdicated himself. And, he was a kind of an enlightened emperor, Diocletian. And when he started, he never, really had intention of persecuting Christians. He followed a policy of toleration. He never insisted that Christians should be persecuted. When he became the emperor in 284, he just tolerated. He did not implement persecution. And, again, for example, another thing is what is more important in 297. This is very important. See, he became the emperor. You see, 84, no? How many years after? 13 years after. He divided the whole empire into two for administrative purpose, east and west. So in 297, now we are going to see some of the very important church things. So in 97, he divided the empire to east and west. East and west. Again, east was, he made 2 province, west 2 province. Okay? East having 2 province and west having 2 province. And there were, for example, in the east, the main division is east and west, okay? In east there is one emperor, east, and that was Diocletian himself. And in the west, another emperor. Okay. So there are now 2 emperors in the Roman Empire. And he appointed again another one, an assistant to his. And they are called Caesar. So another one assistant here. So, and among the 4 provinces, east having 2, west having 2, one province he directly in charge, another province assistant, like that, Now there are really how many rulers? There are 4 rulers. No, not now. And he, in Diocletian's time, that was okay. But these 4 rulers, of all these, Diocletian, that is the ruler in the east, is the number 1. All are equal, but he is the number 1. That is the way he made. Another thing is, all the laws, all these, any law, all together in the empire, if there is a law, affecting the whole empire, the 4 should sign it. 4 of them unanimously, come together and understanding, and it worked out under Diocletian very well, only under him. After that began, the problems and quarrelings and fightings and things like that. Here, the east. Here, this is very important to note because, the Roman Empire, I told you, divided east and west. Okay? And this geographical division made a lasting effect on church in the sense there were many centers in the east. For example, Ephesus, Antioch, then Syria, no? There are Alexandria, many things, many places. Here, mostly it is Rome. mostly Rome, or in France, Lyons. Some of the centers of great Christian centers. Okay? This division made even though geographically it was made Eastern Empire and Western Empire, the Roman Empire, that thing again taken by the church. All these centers of the East, the Christian centers of the East, they were called Eastern Christianity. Understand? Eastern Christianity, or the Oriental Christians. Oriental Christians. All these centers. The great centers like Alexandria, Syria, Antioch, Ephesus, Constantinople, all these centers, Christian centers. These Christians were called Oriental Christians. And in the West, mainly it was Rome. And this Roman center, they are called, the Western Church or the Roman Church. And interestingly, each of these, for example, mainly in the East, there were 4 main centers. 4 main centers. One is called, Alexandria. Alexandria in Egypt. The first one, or it's not the first, second, third, just remember. Then Constantinople. That is called. It was not until now. It was not Constantinople. It was called Byzantium. Byzantine. From there it comes Byzantine Church, Byzantium. So only when Constantine came, he changed the name Constantinople to Constantine Polis. Polis means city or people, no? People where people live is called polis. From it comes politics. It is a Greek word. Okay?
It's been downhill ever since.
So, Byzantium, the second one. The third one is called Antioch. Then the fourth one we can say Jerusalem. These are the main 4 centers. And there was another one that was what's called the Babylon. What is in Persia? Babylonia. 5th one, but this is something different. And these are 4. Here is Rome. So these 4 centers became the centers of Christianity. Okay? These were the 5 centers that led Christianity later. Of all these 5, 4 of them were in the East and 1 was only in the West. Okay? Understand? 4 of them were East. All these 4 belong to Eastern Christianity, and 1 is Rome. And at that time when it became, there were 5 of them were considered to be equal, and they were called, the heads of these centers were called patriarch. From do you know what word comes? Pater is the word father. From that word comes patriarch. It is from the patriarchal, so those things. So. And for example, in Alexandria, the head of the church was called patriarch. In Constantinople, in Antioch, and in Jerusalem, they are called, even now, they are called patriarch. And in Rome, the head of the church is called patriarch. Even now, his official name is the patriarch.
So, Father, is patriarch like a bishop or like a...
He's a bishop.
Pope? Yes.
He's a bishop. And...
It is not considered a pope in his...
Yeah, that's why in Alexandria, even now, this patriarch is called Pope.
Oh.
In Alexandria, even now,
But patriarch and pope are the same word.
Papa means father.
Father, yeah.
That's all. Pope comes from the word papa. Papa, no? So in Alexandria, even the Alexandrian patriarch, even now, he is called the Pope. Yes.
So we have several popes in the world.
Pope means not, they call him Pope. The Antiochian, not the Catholic, but the other one, call him Pope.
So the question is, who were the real popes? Please stand up.
No, we all know that, They can call him Pope. Pope in the sense, a father.
But they have a very small provincial.
Yeah, it's a small one, now it is, a very small one. But this Alexandria is not.
The real pope.
Yeah, the Catholic Church, when we call the Pope, it means the Pope of the Rome, no? The Roman Church. And Alexandria, for example, this patriarch is mainly in his territory, we can say, the whole of Egypt and also part of Ethiopia. Because there is a part of Ethiopia is having the same Christians are there under him. Okay, what was I was talking about? This the what's called the administrative the Roman administrative Diocletian administrative implementation of some of the things that also came to the history of the church. Even now we have its effects, and all these part of this, the four of them, they are called. I have today I have no mass. No, so.
Question. When you mentioned Alexandria, and the break between the East and the West, there's a sect you mentioned earlier, the Coptics. The Coptics actually around the Alexandria area, but their church isn't based on the followings of Mark, not Peter. Peter being, the head of
the Roman Church.
Right. The first successor of the lineage of the popes as we know. They follow Mark.
It's no problem.
But that was way before 297 though.
Yeah, sure. Mark was during the time of the apostles. So what is the problem then? So that doesn't mean in every church of these five founded by Peter, no. For example, Alexandria, they believe that Mark is the founder. Constantinople, Andrew is considered to be the founder. Antioch, of course, Peter.
The plot thickens.
Yes. The Antioch, they call St. Peter's foundation.
Repeat that again, Father. Alexandria claims to be by
St. Mark, the evangelist, no?
St. Mark, and then
Constantinople, St. Andrew.
St. Andrew.
And Antioch, St. Peter. Because, before he came to Rome, he went to Antioch. Of course, that is attested in Acts of the Apostles. And Antioch is one of the most important places at that time. And it was a place where Peter and Paul worked. And it was there in Antioch, the Christians was called Christians.
But you're saying it's okay that they take as their leader Mark or Andrew. It doesn't matter.
No, it's not that. They are the apostolic foundations.
They were representing Christ.
Yeah, no. And see, for example, Antioch. And another one is Jerusalem. Who can claim Jerusalem church? Nobody, everyone, no? Every apostle was there. Every apostle was there. All the apostles were there, no? Jerusalem.
Jerusalem was actually, in the early days of the church, was an area of intense persecution.
Sure.
And as a matter of fact, in the Acts, you hear of the other churches collecting money for the Christian community in Jerusalem.
Paul was talking about that. And he was praising people, I think, the Thessalonians or something like that, I admire your charity and things like that. Even Paul was,
Even though Mark wasn't an apostle, they still
consider, because that's why he is considered to be the very, what's called the follower of Peter and Paul.
This is, thank you, Father, this is exactly.
And Paul was not among the 12, but he is considered to be Apostle Paul.
So he was never considered like a bishop or anything like that?
Who? Paul, yes.
A bishop?
Sure. Because he was, he got the, I think Philip anointed him with the hands.
So are they doing that already?
Sure.
Then they were already anointed?
Sure. That means, imposition of the hands was the sign of their, consecration. Even now, it is the same tradition.
Receive the Holy Spirit.
Yes.
So Matthias was the first one to be replaced, so he was anointed with the hands of...
Sure, by all the 11 apostles. Matthias was taken as Lord, from the Lord, by doing Lord. And then the apostles, laid hand on him. And that is in everywhere that is a succession, the story. That's why some of the last time, I don't know whether you really answered last time, somebody asked, some small Christians, when a bishop died and then the leader was selected, then how this succession came? Of course, they might have brought somebody from some other community. Anyway, this unbreakable succession, apostolic succession is here.
What's interesting about the church in Rome is that's one of the few churches that Paul did not start.
Both of them, Paul and Peter did not start the Roman church.
And what makes the book of Romans so interesting is when Paul's writing to the Christian community there, he's writing to one of the most sophisticated audiences in the world. He's writing both to a Jewish community who knows the law and who's living in Rome, the civilized world, and he's writing to a pagan community, a formerly pagan community, who don't know the law, and don't know the prophets. So that's why I love, when you read Romans, you said, now I'm talking to you Jews, now I'm talking you can almost see him pointing.
Very, very clear, because that the Roman church, of course, even now there is a very strong Roman Jewish community. There is a big, small mosque is there. The big synagogue is there. The synagogue is there, and I think Pope John Paul II visited that synagogue. The synagogue in Rome, that traces even before Christians, before Christianity.
Wow. So what next, Father?
Yeah, and just to finish, So, the Romans, what is Martha's question?
Father Ralph, that movie, there was a movie some years ago about 7 years in Tibet. Have you seen that?
Which movie?
7 years in Tibet.
I don't know. I didn't know.
Ugly guy.
Okay, so, and what now, after persecution, when it comes to Constantine, so that we will take next time, but before that, I just wanted to finish the persecution. Now comes some of the real, the life of the church. That is important. For example, is each these community having different liturgies? That we have to know. For example, in Alexandria, they followed a liturgy which is entirely different from the Roman liturgy. In language, in its celebration, in its rubrics, and it's different. And Constantinople, of course, that is called Byzantine liturgy. Different. Antiochian liturgy. Then Jerusalem, of course, they did not develop a liturgy, of their own. Mostly then we can have, there are 5 mother liturgical traditions. There are 5.
What rite do you branch off of?
That is from Syria.
What rite do you branch off of?
This is from Syria.
Babylonia.
What's the rite that you branch off of?
So it covers Syria, Babylonia covers Syria and Palestine.
No. This is mainly Iran, Iraq, and place. They call it Babylonian.
And that's probably being
outside the Roman Empire. This was the only one Christianity outside Roman Empire. They were under Persians.
And that was Thomas.
Saint Thomas.
Right.
So we are going to see next time. This is very interesting because, that's why I wanted to do some history things, because that leads to our comprehension more about liturgy.
Very much so.
What is, some of them, we think, only there is only the liturgy. What is that, I am celebrating a different liturgy in my church. Not simply the language, Indian language, no. I am celebrating a totally different liturgy. But still Catholic. So what it means? So that leads to our more understanding. And United States, that we have to know, because it is a country where we can get all these liturgies, groups, because it's a land of migration. And all people from all over the world came in, here and established their own churches. And it is allowed there. And there are bishops here. When you hear the bishop of the Byzantine liturgy here, so did we have another bishop than Daniel Flores, who is the bishop of Brownsville? Yes, we have. In United States, but not other parts of the world. Yes.
So we now, what we call ourselves Roman Catholic.
That is a Roman Catholic.
Western.
Yes. Here is, for example, when I say my church, we call it, we don't call Roman Catholic, but Eastern Catholics.
That's where the Greek Orthodox,
They are not Catholic.
They're not Catholic.
They are, that is the why it's very complicated thing. We have to go by step. Okay. Otherwise it's going to be very complicated. What is, Greek Orthodox, what is Catholic then? These are so complicated, really complicated.
So Father, the East accepted the authority of the West?
Later.
Accepted it?
Yeah.
When did they accept that?
Yeah, that was a long process. We cannot simply say this is the year in which it was accepted. We cannot say that. But one thing we have to remember from the very beginning, that consciousness that where Rome as a political center, not only that, of course, Peter and Paul, as these are the two princes of apostles who were martyred, whose tombs were there. So some kind of and I told you, these four emperors, Diocletian and four emperors, all of them considered to be equal, but Diocletian was the number one. Like that, there were the 5 churches, the major churches, centers. But even from the very beginning of all these, they were considered all are equal, but one is more equal.
Rome. The Western Roman.
That is Pope, the Patriarch of Rome, considered to be, not a jurisdictional, that means at that time there was no jurisdictional, but what do you mean by jurisdictional? That means administrative power. No administrative power. Rome had no administrative power over the Alexandrian Church. No. Only a kind of what's called honor. For suppose of all these 5 patriarchs come together, the Patriarch of Rome will be given the first place, not as a jurisdictional power, but as a power of honor. Understand? That consciousness was in the very beginning, we can see. But that later developed after Constantine. Constantine, just favored Roman Patriarch more and more, and slowly, what we can see is almost like a year. What we can say is 800. 800. We can say 800. AD 800 could be marked as a very important year in which Pope became almost like an absolute power in the church.
So it took from the year 367 to...
Almost like 800. Under the Charlemagne dynasty.
What is it called?
Charlemagne.
Oh,
Eh?
King of France.
Yeah, the Frankish king. The Frankish king, Charlemagne, who really favored papacy, and Pope favored him too. That was a kind of a beginning of feudalism. And from there onwards, Pope becoming not only the simply head of the church, but as a head of the state. Head of the church and head of a state, and that goes until now. And until I think it was in 1897 or 67 when the Italians took forcefully all what Pope had and made him the what's called the ruler of the Vatican, 108 acres. That's it. So we will have a little bit later after that, okay, because this is important to know. I just want to emphasize more on, not on the political all those things, but in order to arrive at this understanding of the different liturgies, different church, those things, we are, we shall try next time how, we can come to these things, more of them. Okay? Anything more questions?
Just a comment.
Yeah.
Kind of relating to the discussion about the calendars.
Yeah.
We found out from our rabbi friend that this year, Hanukkah falls on Thanksgiving. The next time that will happen will be in 8,000 years.
Ooh. Now you understand.
So if you want to wait,
you see, we get a better understanding when we learn something about calendar, no?
And that's because of the mechanisms of the solar system.
Solar and lunar system, no? Yeah.
And Thanksgiving was actually based on the Jewish Feast of Tabernacles.
Oh yeah. This is the only year in which that comes together, no?
Yeah.
One day.
Father Ralph, in the Old Testament, in the Bible, when I would read the books, I would observe in my reading that, little children as 8 years old, or maybe some 6 years old or 12 years old, would become emperors already. The people, the government would choose these children.
That is not choosing, they are succession by, birth, no? Emperors, that's, they have become emperor by birth. For example, if I am an emperor, my child becomes emperor. Suppose if I die prematurely and my child is only 1 year, he becomes the emperor in 1 year. But the administration will be carried by the what you call regent, something like that. That's not something that's even now everywhere that happens. Until what's called the ruling of the kings that are over, maybe 100 years ago. Until that. Dynasty. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Thank you very much. The last prayer, something.
Yes. Gino, will you lead us?